there, it's Melissa, and I'm finally back. I've had some personal circumstances which have meant that there's been no time to create. One of my children has been unwell, but she's better now. So I made this, it was meant to go up last week at some stage, but it didn't because she got unwell and then I got unwell. And so it really was a challenging situation when you've got 3 other kids and a business as well. But anyway, so what I wanted to do was do a mixed media layout. So I got some texture paste from my stash and I've mixed it with that acrylic paint, and I only needed a tiny little bit. I didn't want it to be too full on. I just wanted a tint of pink, and I'm just putting it through that Kaisercraft, or Kaisercraft, however you say it, stencil. And so I find normally I go overboard when it comes to mixed media, so wanting to make sure that I limit the area that I put this, and I also didn't want it to look like it was a square pattern. You know, the stencil is square, and I didn't want the area of stenciling that I did to be square. So here I'm using that beautiful Kaisercraft textured cardstock, and so it's embossed, and I just wanted it to feature at the back of my photo. Normally I would use just plain white cardstock, but I thought it would add a bit more to use that. And here I've got the cut apart that comes in the PLK, and please excuse my kids, they're in the little tiny paddling pool. It's really hot here in Queenstown at the moment, and the only way I can get this voiceover done is if I have them out there and me inside. I've shut the door, but you can still hear them. So I'm using my new toy, which is this Close to My Heart distresser, and I'll show you here that you can also use your scissors to get the same look. Sorry, this will be a bit disjointed because one of my kids just came in as I was doing this, so I've had to stop and start again. So I also love the pattern of this cut apart, and I'm using it. Normally you'd probably cut it into the separate bits, but I like the way it looks with the 2 different patterns behind the photo. So I'm adding that on. I've done some distressing there as well. And now I'm just building my layers. Now this is a photo of Brielle. It's probably from a couple of years ago or a year ago, and I was in my craft area and she got in there and took out the cuddle bug, took out the plates, and just knew what to do. And it amazed me because I've never sat down and shown her how to do it. She's just watched me and copied. So of course I had to take a photo because, you know, in the future, if she becomes a scrapbooker, I'll be able to look back and show her this. So I put some foam behind the photo, and now I'm just using double-sided tape because it's the quickest thing at the moment, and just putting together my paper layers. And if I seem distracted, it's because I'm keeping an eye on Ava. She's now 1 and she's outside as well, so I'm wanting to make sure they're not spraying her with the hose. That sounds absolutely crazy, but it's not as bad as it sounds. So here I'm just putting this all together, and I found that the doily stuck fine over the top of that texture paste. I just used double-sided tape as well, and I wanted to use this beautiful bird stamp, and I needed something for it to sit on. It's kind of to anchor or ground it, so I'm using this piece of paper that I'd cut off the other paper, and I think that looks really good. So I've distressed the edges, glued it down, and now I'm just trimming off the excess and just working out where I want that bird. And then I'm using my eraser just to go over the stamp, and it's a good way to prep the stamp before you use it for the first time. And I'm using some black Stays On ink, and I did think about just stamping it directly on my background, but you know, I've done a lot of work on there already, so I just did a test on a piece of cardstock. I love how that looks. I may even cut that out and use it on something else. And then so here I'm inking again and stamping, and I'm loving that little bird on that little piece of paper. So now I've got the chipboard, and I'm just wanting to put some chipboard on, and I found, I don't know if anyone else has found this, but when I've lifted them off the sheet, the backing, the sticky backing has come away. But it's actually quite handy anyway because you can reposition them, and then you just had to add some liquid adhesive. So that flower at the bottom has come off fine, and I think this one here, I did think about putting that in the corner, but then it felt like it was too much, having a floral in each corner. So I've gone with that beautiful little heart. And now I'm going through the ephemera pack, and I've sped this bit up because I want you to see my full process, rather than me cutting it out. I'm just going through and working out what looks good where. I love that little beautiful label, and also that, I think it says Sweet Memories on that banner piece. And because when I printed these photos, I printed them, I would have done I think a 4x4 square and then these two little ones, and rather than trim them separately, I've left them together, and so I quite like the way something looks between them. So now I am wanting to use these chipboard word happy. Sorry guys, this must sound really awful, but I'm like half an eye on this, half an eye on what's going on outside. So I had to glue them down because over the top of textured paste it didn't really stick. And like I say, sometimes the backing comes away. And then I've just gotten those Kaiser Craft letter stickers and put the word crafter. So the title is Happy Crafter. And now I'm wanting to add something at the top of the page. And so I love this floral so much, and I'm using that. And then I wanted to add some more of this textured cardstock as well. Now there's many ways you could use that textured cardstock. You could use it as a full background, or you can use it as just another piece of pattern paper. And I even think you could do some mixed media over the top, maybe to bring out that pattern or accentuate it. So I'm wanting to get the most out of that paper as possible, which is why I'm using it in small pieces. I love the way it looks with a ripped edge up here, and then I'm just going to add that floral over the top. Off camera, I'll go away to my sewing machine and stitch between the two just to add some more texture, and then I think I lift up the edge of that floral as well. So I'm just trimming off the excess, and I love that beautiful navy on the background as well. So at this point, I realised that I haven't trimmed it straight. Now it looks fine on here, but when I looked at it myself and I got my husband to check it, it wasn't straight. So I haven't realised yet, but I will come back in and remedy that by accentuating it to fix it. So I'm adding that little beautiful label and this floral piece, and I'm just adding a pop dot on there. Now if you can hear my kids screaming and yelling, it's all happy noises, I promise. They've got the hose and the paddling pool and a plastic slide. And then I wanted to include another one of the beautiful flare badges, and I just love the way that one looks under my title, and so I've added that. I've noticed in my crafting, I've mentioned this before, that I'm really right dominant, so I'll put everything on the right, especially the photo. So I must say that with this one, I'm proud of myself for not putting the photo on the right. I've done sort of off center left and then put my title on the right. So I guess with my style, there's always something on the right. And so here I'm adding my journaling, and I'm using a silver pen because I thought that black would just be a bit too full on. And so I'm just saying exactly what I told you, that I was in my room and then I looked across and she was doing this, and she seemed to know what she was doing. And actually, while we're talking about her and scrapbooking, I've noticed that she's actually has been talking about scrapbooking lately. I've never noticed her say it before. It's just, I guess, something that my kids know that I always do, and they just probably take it for granted that I do it. But I do find it interesting when they start to use the terms for the first time. So I've gone with that fine and dandy banner in the middle there instead of the one that I had before. And here I am now fixing that unevenness, I guess, by accentuating it, by putting that triangle of blue. I also added some Heidi Swap Colour Shine in tinsel, which I think goes quite well with the silver because I didn't want black on this page. And so here I'm just lifting up the edges of that floral and also the blue, and I think that goes nicely with the distressed edges on the other pattern paper. So yeah, I'm nearly done. I'm just adding this little heart, I guess it's a flag. And I am aware that I haven't been making videos for ages, but I'm hoping to do more. And I'm hoping to be back more regularly here at the Scrappery. So just some close-ups to finish. I hope you enjoyed this, and I promise you I'll do my best to be back again next week. Take care.